For the final time, welcome along to Extra Time here on LCFC TV and LCFC Radio. After Leicester City's long season comes to an end, but it's been a good one, hasn't it? There's been plenty of great memories that have come out of the season. We'll talk about some of Iwan Roberts and Matt Elliott's moments of the season. We'll talk about the Southampton game yesterday. These two will have some LCFC themed questions as well as Jenga at the end, which Matt Elliott thought he might have got out of, but unfortunately he doesn't. This is the last time, by the way, that we're doing Extra Time on Zoom. We'll be back to the studio next season as well. So enjoy your final Monday morning, gents, talking to me, which I'm sure you've enjoyed all season.
You're going to be missed, Dan. You're going to be missed. You're going to be miss seeing your cheery face on a Monday morning. Not as much Matt, you have to say, but there you go.
Yeah, I think, Matt Elliott, you definitely won't miss these Monday mornings, will you?
Mate, it's taxing. I've got to do a quiz and a Jenga on a Monday morning. I'm glad it's the end of the season, mate. Put it that way.
You're against the king of Jenga as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I don't mind if I open up this Zoom meeting account and I see Walsh's face staring at me, but I've got every time it's Ewan, and I know I'm going to take a pasting.
Yeah, after his terrible start to the season, I think you'll say that yourself, Ewan, won't you? It's a lot better.
I was awful. I kept on repeating answers that had already been said.
Yeah, exactly. But you found a way to do it. You found a way to win, Ewan.
There's a method, Dan, you know. It's not luck.
Yeah, see his eyes keep going like that, don't they?
We've had an early doors accusation of cheating, which bodes well, I'm sure, for Jenga later on. Right, let's talk about the game yesterday then. Let's talk about the season as a whole, Matt. It was nice to cap off this long season, wasn't it, with a victory?
Yeah, very much so. I think not just the game yesterday, but the final four games, really. You know, undefeated, 3 wins out of 4. A decent point, a very decent point, you know, away at Stamford Bridge. Wasn't the most scintillating of games and performances, but yesterday was eventually it was just what everyone hoped for and anticipated, wasn't it? You know, with the scoreline as it was, it took a little while to warm up. You thought that might be the case. End of season, last game of the campaign, and not too much riding on it, in all honesty. But you want to put in a good performance. Brendan Rodgers, you know, impressed to his players that he wanted to finish with a flourish, and he certainly did. So, you know, picking up those extra 10 points last 4 games has changed the perspective, if you like. Personally, I didn't think there was too much wrong anyway, but it just gives a slightly more positive impression, doesn't it? You know, going into the close season and then, you know, recruitment stage, etc. Mentioned the term feel-good factor yesterday quite a number of times, and there are a few reasons why, but one of them was because of how Leicester have finished the season, and that can only serve them well going into next campaign. Yeah,
and we've spoken a lot, Ewan, in the last couple of weeks about that, about ending the season strongly. As soon as I guess that the semi-final defeat to Roma, that there was nothing really to play for in the league in terms of Leicester couldn't, even if they'd won all the games, reach those European places. So without wanting the end of the season to peter out, Brendan Rodgers said himself, let's just go and win these games that we've got left. And they pretty much did that, obviously, barring that draw at Chelsea, which is still a good result. They've had a really good end to the season, which must give them so much momentum.
And did it with a bit of style, Dan. You know, let's be honest, you know, 3 goals against Norwich, 4 at Vicarage Road, another 4 yesterday, and capped in the middle, you know, a good point at Stamford Bridge, you know, 10 points from the last 4 games, 12 goals scored. You have to say it's been a positive ending, just what Brendan Rodgers wanted. You know, I think before the Norwich game, I think Leicester were maybe 13th, 14th, but you know, had games in hand on the teams above them, and we've spoken a few times saying that, you know, 8th still isn't out of reach. They're still capable of picking enough points to finish 8th, and that's where you know, Brendan's team have finished. And I think an 8th place finish this season with all the problems, especially in the first half of the season. You know, hats off to the lads, because that's a good ending. It really, really is. And the lads can go away now, enjoy their summer break, because it's going to be a short one with the season starting at the end of July, so it's not going to be the summer that they're used to have. But yeah, it's you have to say it's only the top four have scored more goals than Leicester in the Premier League this season. It's just the other side of the game that hasn't been quite right. But as we've said, there've been circumstances and reasons for that.
Well, exactly, Ewan, and I think the supporters understand that, don't they? Everything that's gone on this season in terms of the injuries has been a bit of a killer, really, for Brendan Rodgers and his Leicester side. They've had so many players out throughout the season, not just fringe players, but vital first-team players.
Oh, huge. You look at the backbone of the team. Your two main centre-halves, Wesley Fofana and Johnny Evans, have missed the majority of the season. Ndidi, he's missed a lot of games. Mendy's come in and done brilliantly, to be fair. Harvey Barnes, he's missed a chunky health of games. Your main goal scorer in Jamie Vardy, who's looked unbelievable in these last 4 games. 5 goals in these last 4 games. I mean, he looks as hungry as he ever has done. So big players, Dan, real big players. Proper leaders on the pitch. And had those players been available for the majority of the season, I think Leicester would have been pushing for the top 4, top 5 finish once again. But it's hard. It's hard to fill those gaps and the boots of those players that have not been available.
Yeah, you don't want to dwell too much on it, Matt, do you? And I don't think Brendan Rodgers will. I mean, we don't want to dwell on it. We don't want to be accused of making excuses or whatever. But it has to be talked about because of the sheer scale of the bad luck, the unfortunate luck that Leicester have had this season.
Yeah, it's a massive part of the equation, isn't it? And I think most people realise that, understand that. Football supporters, sometimes you get a broad spectrum, don't you? But some of them are quite quick to sort of have an opinion, jump the gun, have a little bit of a panic. But I think most people see the bigger picture, really, and understand what has happened. I think it's... say they won't want to deliberate the point, but Brendan Rodgers will look into why the injuries occurred. Some of them, I'm not saying they were, but possibly preventable. I don't know, but they weren't all contacts and collisions, were there? There were quite a lot of soft tissue injuries that were occurring. So managing that is a key component of. Well, not being a manager necessarily, but of running a football squad and team. So that needs to be looked at, if possible. If that sort of area can be improved, some of them they might have all been unpreventable, but it's something to look at. But it's just the way it occurs. I mean, a lot of teams seem to incur these injuries, to quite a severe degree. But none as much as, in my memory, as Leicester. Like I say, in modern times, the injury crisis, I don't know if I'm just inventing that or not, but it's quite regularly teams suffer a collective amount of injuries. But is it the demands of the modern game? I don't know. But Leicester are hoping they have better fortune in that department next season. Surely they must. Surely they must, because it's been horrendous at times, hasn't it? And you feel like there was a curse at one stage. It was just you just woke up on a Monday morning expecting more bad news on the injury front, don't you? And hopefully that will change next season. If it does, again, it's only going to serve Leicester well, isn't it? As are many other things we can look into for next season. The benefit of not achieving their aims this season is that they don't play in Europe next year, and there'll be even more time with Brendan Rodgers to assess the situation. Perhaps let a couple go, bring a few in, and excited already for next season.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually, Ewan, that Matt makes about Europe. Obviously, it's very disappointing that Leicester won't be in Europe next season. But if you're looking at the positives, that they will have so much more time, I guess, to concentrate on domestic affairs next season. And when we've seen Leicester last do that, they nearly came fourth in the Premier League. So they're very adept at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say the last 2 European campaigns, everybody's enjoyed them. You know, played against some big sides, had some really good results, had some good away trips, as yourself and Matty knows, Dan. Enjoyed everything of that. But yeah, I think yesterday was it Leicester's 58th or 59th game of the season. It's a lot of games. It's a lot of games when you've got the injuries that Brendan's had. Probably hasn't got the strength in depth that some of the top 4, top 5 teams have. So there will just be 3 competitions. You know, Premier League takes priority. We know that, but are Leicester capable of winning a League Cup or another FA Cup? Absolutely. So they can have a proper go at those competitions. But when you're in form, when you get into the latter stages, as they did in the League Cup, when they get into the semi-final of the Europa Conference League, you've got to juggle your squad, and that's what Brendan's done in the last 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, the team's changed so much. And the reasons for that, because the European competition took main priority because it was a chance of another silverware for the football club. But it's not easy. It's not an easy job when you've got to chop and change. You don't get that fluidity into performances. But Leicester have, especially towards the end of the season.
Right, let's do the first of our extra time teasers then. We used to do this last season, dispersed throughout the show. These two will go head to head. There is a pot 1 of questions and a pot 2 of questions. Matt, you can pick if you want 1 or 2. It doesn't make a difference. It's just so I can't be accused of any bias with any questions at all. Not that Jerry's on. I feel like Jerry would maybe do that, but you two wouldn't, would you?
Tags will be on your case, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, if it doesn't make a difference, why have I got to choose? Are you going to give me my set of questions whether I say pot 1 or 2?
Yeah, they're written down, Matt and you. No. There's a pot 1 and a pot 2. So,
right, let's go pot 1, mate. Yeah?
Pot 1, right. Who scored 2 goals away at Randers?
Randers,
yeah.
Randers. James Maddison.
Correct. Well done. So that's Matt Elliott on the board with 1 point. Iwan, you referenced this literally last answer that you were giving. How many games did Leicester play in all competitions this season? You get it wrong, by the way. Matt Elliott can steal your point.
I'm going to go for 58.
Correct. Well done. Yeah, right. So you're both on the board, 1-1. You've got another couple of questions each. We'll do those throughout extra time. Let's concentrate on the game yesterday then. It was nice, as we've said, to end the season well, and they played well as a group, didn't they, Ewan? I mean, the first half was very much had an end of the season feel to it, didn't it? But from then on, in the second half, the game just came alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's as if the lads went at 3 gears in that second half, as if they knew the first half wasn't what they're about, the standards that they've set as a team and as a squad of players. And they knew they were up against the sides who were there to be beaten. You know, I can only remember one real chance in that first half when Timothy Castanis crossed it in from the right-hand side and Jamie Vardy's within inches of getting a touch onto the ball and scoring the opening goal. But, I mean, you look at the pace and the intensity that Leicester attacked with in that second half. You know, it was just a joy to watch. And, you know, 4 goals of quality as well. And it was a good day. You know, it's Birchie's last charity, his 40th, I think it was, his last charity run at the King Power Stadium. The fans would have enjoyed that, and everybody who got involved. But then for the lads to go out and put a second half showing, as they did, a dominant second half display. It was a good last game of the season.
Yeah, we'll talk about Birchie's run in a little while, but yeah, let's just concentrate on the game for now, Matt. And as Ewan says, they really turned it on, didn't they, in that second half? Because at half-time, I think there was a bit of a feel of, oh, right, okay, this could just peter out a little bit. But Brendan Rodgers and his side made sure that didn't happen.
I always felt Leicester would do enough to win the game. But, you know, you didn't want the players to sort of think that, really, because I mean, you could see that in the performance first half. I think they felt they had the upper hand and that something would fall for them eventually. So they weren't in a massive hurry to go and force the issue, really. You know, they were comfortable enough, and like Ewan says, a couple of half chances, situations, if they were a bit more ruthless, they might have capitalised on. But the game needed something to spark it into life, and that the opening goal, you know, pretty early in the second half, for a couple of reasons, sort of stirred things up a bit, didn't it? Because of element of controversy. You know, people say, oh, the players don't really care, etc. But conceding the goal in the manner that it occurred angered and fired up Southampton, didn't it, a bit? And Leicester reacted to that. The rights and wrongs of the controversy, I'm not entirely sure. But at the end of the day, Southampton should have dealt with it. Lianco is, I think I've got his name right. I've been trying for 2 days to get that right. Don't know why it's so difficult, but made a bit of a mess of it. Vardy nips in, doesn't he? And Maddison gets the rewards of it. And that sparked the game into life a little bit, really. It sort of stirred Leicester from their slumber. And from that moment on, they had a bit of a game on their hands. Even though, you always felt Leicester were going to have the edge. And so it proved. They ran out comfortable winners in the end and produced some lovely football as well. It was, it was a fitting finale to the season, wasn't it?
Yeah, James Maddison won the LCFC Men's Player of the Season, as voted for by the supporters, Ewan. And he really turned it on, didn't he, in that second half? He got a goal, he got an assist. Underlined, really, in a way, why he was voted Player of the Season. I think was it last week you were saying he would have got your vote, James Maddison, for the sheer amount of numbers that he's produced. That's 30 goal involvements in all competitions, both goals and assists, which is a tremendous return.
I just look at his performances in the second half of the season. He's been outstanding. You know, you mentioned the numbers there, and I think that's the difference that James got into his game now. I mean, the first goal, I think, is a great example because it's hopeful ball up from Kasper. You know, Jamie does what Jamie Vardy does. He chases a lost call. He tries to make something out of nothing. He puts the defender under pressure, which sort of ends up with him having a shot on goal. Decent save from the goalkeeper. But I think that's the difference. I think maybe James Maddison of last year or maybe 2 years ago would have just maybe stopped and admired Jamie Vardy's run and not gone in support of him, thinking, well, I might get a chance here to score the goal. But that's what he did. It was a tap-in for him in the end. But he's had an unbelievable season. You know, his creativity, his vision, the ball he puts in for Perez, his first goal. It's all right seeing the space to put the ball in, but it's another thing to put it across straight to Perez. It was a great finish, to be fair. But you know, you look at his 12 Premier League goals, 4 in his last 4 appearances. There's only 4 Englishmen that have scored more goals than him. Harry Kane, Jamie Vardy, Wilfried Zaha, and he's got 7 pens this season. Granted, you've still got to win them. And Raheem Sterling. You know, he's got more goals than Mason Mount. He's got more goals than Saka. Jack Grealish has scored 3 Premier League goals. Jared Bowen, he's got the same amount as James Maddison, and people are raving about him. Now, Ivan Toney, he's got 12. It's been fantastic, Dan. And we've spoken about it on a few occasions. He has to be knocking on that England squad door with the numbers that he's produced. You know, he's had the best season by far of his career. And I wouldn't just say goals-wise, but I think performance-wise as well.
I said this yesterday, Matt. It's a shame, really, for James Maddison. The World Cup isn't this summer, isn't it? Because of the way James Maddison finished the season, you'd think the red-hot form that he's in, he would be due a spot on that plane. Maybe on the other hand, it could work well for him. If he starts next season really, really well, then he can't be ignored. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, to be fair, I think you'll probably serve him better being at the time of year it is, because I think he's still got some work to do in Southgate's eyes. Certainly to establish himself, firstly in the squad and definitely into the team. You know, it feels a bit of a way off, to be honest, but not that he's not capable. I mean, Ewan's just summed it up, you know, superbly there. Those numbers alone reflect how good a player he is, but you don't need to know the numbers to see that he's a supremely talented footballer. You know, when he's on his game, you know, he's a delight to watch, isn't he? His mastery of the ball, his technique, his confidence, his ability, he's just a naturally gifted footballer, and he's applying the other aspects of his game properly, and he's free of injury. He's clear-minded, and he just wants to get out there and demonstrate his stuff, doesn't he? And I don't know if the World Cup was this summer. I think it's still debatable whether he gets in the squad or not. I would put him in. Southgate seems to have reservations, doesn't he? So still that extra period of time might work out well for Maddison, to be fair, give him even more time to make that impression on Gareth Southgate.
Did anyone else stand out for you in the season? Let's not talk about Kieran Dewsbury-Hall or James Maddison, because we've done enough of that in the last couple of weeks. Anybody else for you on a Leicester front that deserves a mention, do you think?
I think Kasper Schmeichel's once again been outstanding, hasn't he? But I think that's part of the course now, really, for Kasper. You know, he produces season in, season out, so I don't think we should be surprised for that. I mean, I think we have to mention the likes of Pepe Mendy. You know, thought he was not out the door, but I don't think he was given a squad number at the start of the season, and that's not easy when you sort of not been outcasted. That's the wrong word, but when you don't maybe feel part of the squad of the football club, you think to yourself, your future lies elsewhere. But he's obviously knuckled down, and he's been given an opportunity in the second half of this season, and I think he's been tremendous. I think he got back in at the Emirates for, I think that was his first appearance. And I think he's been absolutely tremendous. You know, obviously Wilfred Indeed is a massive player for the football club, but I think Mendy's come in and he's not moped about. He's got on with the job. He's rolled his sleeves up and he's shown what he's capable of doing.
Right, let's do round two then of the extra time teasers. You both got question one correct. These questions are all about Leicester's season. Right, Ewan. Who scored Leicester's winner away in PSV?
That was Ricardo.
Correct. Well done. You just had to make sure you got that one right, didn't you, Ewan? You were thinking about it.
Bit of pressure on that, you know, a bit of pressure.
I'm hoping mine's as easy as that, matey.
Who scored Leicester's vital goal away in Rennes?
Wesley.
Correct. It was as easy as that, Matt, wasn't it?
Yeah, even easier, to be fair. Yeah. I was actually there.
You were there, exactly.
By the way, Dan, he's been brilliant as well. Wesley Fofana has been brilliant since he got back in the team.
Let's talk about him. Yeah, he was missed, wasn't he, in that first half of the season? It was such a shame, and the way that he got injured in that pre-season friendly against Villarreal at King Power Stadium. But he obviously recovered. He's a very young player anyway. He stayed grounded, didn't he? He didn't let it get to him too much. He worked hard in rehab, came back, and he looked like when he came on, or he started that game in Rennes and scored that goal, like he'd never been away.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. He looked as if he'd never been away. I mean, I think the bonus with Wesley Fofana is that we did get to see him towards the end of the season, because when that horrendous injury, and it was a poor challenge in a pre-season friendly, and it's so avoidable. But to lose a player of his quality for that length of time, we weren't too sure if he was gonna be able to recover and come back and get some game time. Delighted that he did. But as you say, he just settled in straight away. You know, you wouldn't have thought he'd been away for 6-7 months since that injury. You know, scored a goal, an important, very important goal on his return. But just his overall performances. You know, he's got everything down. He's strong, he's quick, he's powerful, he's good with the ball. He enjoys coming out of that back line and joining midfield. He's good at carrying the ball forward. He's got a good range of passing. What is he, 22, 23? You know, he's a future French international. We know that. I think it's only a matter of time before he breaks into that squad. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the French squad to go to the World Cup in November in Qatar. I mean, that's how highly I rate him. And, you know, a magnificent signing for the football club.
Yeah, you've almost done him a disservice in a way. He's 21.
Sorry.
Which underlines it even more, doesn't it? The point that you made.
Yeah, absolutely scary that he's only 21. Because he looks accomplished now. He's got everything. He's got everything that you look for in a defender. I mean, I'd hate to play against him. I'm not saying he's not the biggest in stature, but he's good in the air. He's got a great leap on him. He showed that with the goal that he scored away in Landers. In Rennes, I'm afraid. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's got everything. He's got everything that you need to be a top defender.
Matt, how old were you? 27 when you joined the Premier League, were you, when you came to Leicester?
28, I think, basically.
28. So, obviously, you had an illustrious Premier League.
These overnight sensations sometimes take a while.
but yeah, Wesley Fofana, 21 years old. Like, it is
incredible.
Yes, staggering, isn't it? And what he could achieve in the game.
You know, the world is his lobster, as Jerry would say. It's that comeback game against Rennes was just ridiculous. Like that says all you need to know, because the quality and level of performance of that after being out for that long, and it shows you the faith and confidence that Brendan Rodgers has got in him. Obviously, they nursed him to a level in training, put him to the limits. So they knew he was capable of going into the fray straight away. But to produce a display like that, you know, pressurised atmosphere against an excellent team, you know, it's not like it was a game you could go and coast through. That was a tough away fixture in a bit of a cauldron stadium that it was, and he just rolled his sleeves up and was like, tapped it, didn't he? He was like, come on then, this is what I've been missing. I'm going to show everyone what they've been missing. And he did. It was staggering. You just used that word, and it was a staggering performance, the level of it. And he's just carried on in a similar vein, really, hasn't he? You know, regularly in the top 3 best players for Leicester in pretty much every game. And the potential for him is limitless, isn't it? Limitless. I look at him without getting too carried away. You're talking about being a French international. You know, there are certain similarities to him and Varane, possibly. But he's a better footballer than Varane. With the ball at his feet. He's naturally gifted. He's a better player than Varane in that respect. Just a couple of little bits. He's a 21. It's going to be the odd bit of decision making with Johnny Evans alongside him, though. What a tutor to have. What a player Leicester have got on their hands.
Is Rennes your moment of the season, Matt? If not, what is it?
Well, yeah. People say it's been a long, hard, arduous season, but there have been quite a number of highlights, haven't they? I mean, the Liverpool game at King Power, you know, there was a really dogged, gritty performance, wasn't it? And Man United at home, I thought that was superb. It's Rennes, I don't know, I suppose PSV, really, isn't it? I think
thought maybe because you were there, maybe.
Yeah, I enjoyed Rennes probably more because, you know, you get to see it up close and personal and everything it's about, and Fofana coming back. They were hanging on at the end, weren't they? Leicester Schmeichel saved the day, and it was on a knife edge. That was tense. But I suppose in terms of, from a supporter's point of view, you're watching it, regardless whether I was there or not. But to come back like they did against PSV, that was the key, wasn't it? To turn the result round, turn the game on its head, and deservedly so as well. That was a good performance, wasn't it, against PSV, without a doubt. And there's some excellent football. It wasn't scrambled success. It wasn't fortuitous. Sorry, it was excellent play, and they got what they deserved. So that probably tops it, I would say, PSV.
Ewan, how about you?
I would agree with Matt. I think that the PSV second half performances was absolutely top class. The standard of both goals were magnificent. I mean, you have to look at the Liverpool game at King Power. 1-0 win. The only team to stop Liverpool from scoring in the Premier League this season, probably cost Liverpool the title that night, the way Liverpool have dropped points since then. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first game of the Europa League, Napoli at home, proper big European pedigree club coming to Leicester. I thought it was a cracking game. The Rennes away game was a good performance in a good atmosphere. But yeah, you just look at what that meant, the PSV one, against a good side, a side second in the Dutch league. I mean, got to go behind in that first half to show the character, the right mentality to come back and produce that second half performance in a tough place to go. I think that has to be the highlight.
Yeah, it was a terrific performance, Matt, wasn't it, against PSV, particularly in that second half. They had to weather a really big storm. The atmosphere was as good as it was in Rennes, and those home fans were right behind the team. But it was that man, it was the player of the season, James Maddison, that dragged them back into it, with a big helping hand from Jose Perez, who came off the bench. The substitutes that night were brilliant from Brendan Rodgers,
yeah.
James the game, Lookman and Perez, and yeah, it was a great turnaround.
Yeah, and the substitutes have, not always, but quite regularly played a part as well. Brendan Rodgers needs to take a fair bit of credit for that. But, both defensively, sort of on a tactical basis, but also, to go and change games in a goal-scoring sense. But, yeah, it was... When you look back, it's just sort of reminiscing there as we're talking. Napoli seems such a long time ago, but that was a wonderful occasion, rightly mentioned by you and there. Stormed into that lead, didn't they? Okay, surrendered it, but Napoli, fully fledged European level material, aren't they? And there was that, and obviously the Roma tie. You look back, and Feyenoord and Rennes, all these names rolling off the tongue, and that's what level Leicester have been competing at this season. Okay, you can say, slipped out of the Europa League into the conference. But the conference was met with sort of derision, wasn't it, initially? But I think that attitude's changed now, and it's, I don't know, well, I hesitate to say it's on a par with the Europa League, because natural argument is it's not the teams that finish higher up the league. But the historical reputation of a lot of the teams in the conference are equal to Europa League competitors. And, just look at the final. Look at the final between those two teams. What more do you need to say?
You'd argue almost in a way that you couldn't really pick between the semi-finalists for the Europa League against the semi-finalists for the Conference League. You wouldn't have been able to tell which competition was which.
No, exactly. And I think people are sort of equating it, aren't they, to the UEFA Cup and then the Cup Winners' Cup. I get why that is, but that again was sort of similar standard teams more often than not, certainly in the latter stages. So it'll be interesting to see how the conference develops, really. I don't know, there seems to be a lot of good sides around these days in Europe, aren't they? To fill 3 competitions, Champions League, Europa and the conference. But I think it surprised a lot of people, really, the level of it and the standard. and ultimately the appetite that people had for it, because they were full-blooded affairs, weren't they? Rennes, Eindhoven, obviously Roma, and then, the final to go. Unfortunately, missed out on that. But, it was great to be involved. Great while it lasted, wasn't it?
Yeah, final point on that European campaign, Matt. Obviously, it did end in Rome, against Roma. But I think for every Leicester fan that was there, for you and I certainly, they were great memories to be there, weren't they? To experience the Stadio Olimpico. Yeah. It is such a shame that Leicester weren't able to get the result that night, and the players deserve so much credit, don't they, for their performance against Roma in both legs.
Yeah, I think they'll be slightly frustrated. I thought they weren't able to penetrate or break them down, were they? And that has to go down to Roma being very efficient, very effective in that respect. They were big, strong, physical side, weren't they? Well coached, well disciplined. Leicester just couldn't break the door down, really. But frustrations, conceding that again, from a set piece, and that was the ultimate factor in the tie, really. So that's something that we all know needs to be addressed. I think Brendan Rodgers tried to address it yesterday. There was like a full 11 players back in the penalty area in a full zonal system. There were bodies everywhere. They were all sort of standing, guarding post, basically. And they dealt with them yesterday, so hopefully that will be similar, continuing. But don't go over this run, but it didn't quite take off, did it? But what a wonderful atmosphere. I mean, that really was special. Talk about Rennes, talk about PSV, but Roma was on another level, to be honest. It was an honour to be in that stadium and to sort of witness that. Leicester had a go, it just came up short.
Right, let's finish off our extra time teasers then. You've got one more question each. Matt, you went first time, didn't you? So, who scored Leicester's first Premier League goal of the season?
Not 1,000% sure, but I'm relatively confident. Jamie Vardy against Wolves.
Correct.
Well, an excellent finish it was. Ricardo. Was it Ricardo down the right wing?
He beat his man, didn't
cheeky
he?
Little shuffle. Vardy got across, didn't he, near post.
Cracking finish. Finish.
It's working. It's working. Come on, son.
This early. We should do it this early every single week, Matt.
Yeah.
Right, Ewan, you have to get this then to level it up. What was the score when Leicester played Man United at home? Oh no, Matt. He looks confident.
Oh, right.
Matt definitely knows it.
I think I do know it. 4-3?
Nope. Matt Elliott, you can win this. Well, you've already won it.
I've won it anyway.
Yeah, you can really emphasise the win.
I might go something ridiculous like 8-3. No, but it doesn't matter. Do you know what? I've got myself doubting myself now. 4-2, wasn't it?
4-2 indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that showed later on, wasn't it? Or was it Daka? I don't know.
Daka, yeah.
Daka, wasn't
it? So Man United equalised with about...
Got back to 2-2, didn't it?
Yeah, with about 10 minutes to go. Rashford, I think, scored, and then literally from kick-off, Leicester went up the other end and made it 3-2. Vardy with a brilliant finish. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I think that's got to be in the conversation, you, in that game. Well done, Matt, by the way.
Yeah, we need to talk about my victory for a little while.
Okay, yeah. We'll all bow down. So, you know you're only milking this because you've got Jenga to come, and you're coming up against the Jenga
Payback.
In his own words, Ewan Roberts. So, yes. It was a brilliant performance at the 4-2 against Man United. Seems, talking about that Jamie Vardy goal against Wolves, Ewan, it seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? The beginning of the season, 58 games ago. Well, 57 including the Community Shield, but yeah, it's been a long season, but a good season as we've been talking about.
It has. And there's been ups and downs, Dan, as there are in every season. There've been highs and lows. And to beat Man U, however, what sort of season they were having, it's still ranks as a great result. You know, the club the size of Manchester United with the players that they've got. Okay, they've had a tough time, but in such an exciting game as well, a game that sort of ebbed and flowed, and a fantastic result at the end of the day for Leicester. Yes, it's been a long old slog. It really has, but the lads have come through it, and you have to give them so much credit for the way they've conducted themselves from that very first game against Wolves.
Right, final point, Ewan, before we do our Jenga. Obviously, we've talked about taking momentum into next season. It's a big summer, obviously, for Leicester City. What would constitute maybe a good season next campaign? I know that's very early to be looking ahead to that, but there is confidence now. There is momentum to take into August.
Yeah, I with the squad with a fully fit squad, with maybe 2 or 3 additions, and I'm sure Brendan will want to bring a bit more quality to help with the already good, healthy squad that he's got. You know, we've already spoken about there's no European competition, so it's going to be less games. It's not going to be as congested a season as what this season has been. I just look top 5, top 6 European places now. I think that has to be the target for a club like Leicester now. You know, that I think we talk about standards. They've set such high standards since Brendan's been there. Been very unlucky not to finish in that top 4 on a couple of occasions. Just missed out on the final day in both the previous seasons. You know, I think that's where Leicester City are now. They need to be challenging for those European places. And when I speak about that, I don't mean the Europa Conference League. I mean like Champions League and the Europa League places.
Well, if we were doing a bit of a tally this season, Ewan Roberts would be a title winner, wouldn't he, for our football Jenga? Let's see if he can cap the season off with a victory. Matt Elliott's already won the extra time teasers, though, so you can take that one with you, Matt, can't you? Let's see who wins this one then. The 27 top scorers in the Premier League this season. So basically, any player that has 9 goals or more in the Premier League. That is your theme. Ewan, you can go first, please.
Son.
Salah.
Kane.
Mane.
Vardy.
You're not struggling already, surely not.
No, no, I'm just trying to make sure I don't make a silly mistake. No, I'm just thinking like Man City wise and stuff. We go that way. Sterling.
Madison.
I should say Madison, yeah. Should have got that out. Do you know what? I am struggling more than I should be. 9, you say? 9, you say? You say? I don't think a top goal scorer. Lukaku hasn't got many. That wasn't my answer, by the way.
I know.
You get like a hatful. Foden.
Yeah, just. I think he's got 9.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I was scraping the barrel a little bit there. No, not really.
Ronaldo.
Oh, come on. But then I hadn't even got round to Man United players then.
It worries me how much you're struggling at this very early stage.
I know. It worries me. It must worry you and that I actually beat him in the quiz. I'm having a bit. I was going through teams. We did Kane song, didn't we? Bowen.
Yeah.
Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure about him. So he's been out injured a bit, hasn't he? You know, he got Player of the Year. 9. Ooh.
Yeah, it's going to be next season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a condensed summer anyway, Ewan, let alone how long
I
that's
know.
Dan, it'll soon be the World Cup, mate.
Yeah, but there wasn't a hatful of goals scored, but were there? By too many individuals. Oh. Silver.
Nope.
No,
No.
didn't think so.
Yeah, you've been put out of your misery, Ewan. Just get one to win it.
Yeah, that would have
I'll let
been
you win first.
that would have been hard work to continue that any longer.
Exactly. I'm really glad that you got that wrong.
Go on, I've had a bit of a blank. Fill me in.
Right.
You're
Go on. Yeah, you would have won anyway. You went first. That's fine. Bruno Fernandes, Bukayo Saka, Diogo Jota, Emil Smith-Rowe, Emmanuel Dennis, Ivan Toney, James Ward-Prowse, Mason Mount, Maxwell Cornet, Mikel Antonio, Ollie Watkins, Rafinha, Richarlison, Riyad Mahrez, Timu Pukki, and Wilfred Zaha.
I mentioned 6 of them at the beginning, mate.
Pookie, did he get 9?
He got 12.
11 or
11,
12? 12 he did, yeah.
That was a poor effort. I think I've sort of switched off, got complacent. You know when you win a title and you just
Pressure's off.
You're on the beach,
Yeah.
Matt. You're on the beach.
yeah, it wasn't important enough to me. I got the main quiz right, and then
No. This one's the main quiz, mate.
just feeding on scraps. You.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Well, brilliant. Thank you very much to the both of you. Thanks to everybody that's been a guest this season. I hope you've enjoyed it, doing it this way, Matt, but we'll be back to normal next season. So you can enjoy your Sunday evening.
Back to normal.
You can enjoy your Sunday evenings a little bit more next year. Yeah, thanks, Ewan. Thanks, Matt. We'll speak to you both, I'm sure, over the summer at some point. I'm sure people will be in touch with you to do some bits for us. So yeah, I'm sure you'll look forward to that. Thank you to everybody that's watched, that's listened this season as well. We do appreciate it. We hope you've enjoyed everything that we've produced this season. We hope you've enjoyed Jerry's booms and Ewan Roberts' wins and Matt Elliott's blanks, which we had a few of those this morning, didn't we? So yeah. No, brilliant.
And Walsh's meltdowns.
I wasn't going to mention it, Matt. Yeah, brilliant. Thanks to the both of you. Thanks again to everybody. We hope you have a fantastic summer. We'll be back again in the pre-season and for next season, which will roll around, I'm sure, very quickly.